everybody, Etienne Marceau with the Sports Inquirer, and welcome to another edition of the Original Free Kick. A little bit of a change of pace. Usually we speak to Atlanta United player or manager Ronny Deila, but today we're featuring Atlanta United Technical Director Chris Henderson. He was able to speak with the media during practice, technically, on August 22nd, and he addressed the everything going on with the 2025 season, from the health of President Garth Lathway to the just overall play on the field to just the building of this team and just everything going on with Atlanta United. So before we get to Chris, as always, follow everything that we do. Head to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also head to our social media platforms on Twitter/X, Instagram, and Facebook. And finally, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our audio and video hosts, which include YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and more. As I mentioned, we were able to speak, or we didn't speak with him directly. We did ask a question, and you'll hear me in a moment. But Chris Henderson, technical director of Atlanta United, he spoke with the team, spoke about the everything going on with the team on and off the field. Well, actually, technically, he's a chief soccer officer and sporting director. So I want to make sure I get Chris's title right. So I looked it up. So let's hear from Chris and everything about 2025 and on and off the field for Atlanta United. Enjoy.
He's seeing the end of treatment. So
Oh, okay.
he's starting to, see the light at the end of the tunnel. But he was optimistic, positive the last time we talked.
Any proposed time on his return?
No, I think it's open.
Okay. All right. Well, how would you characterize the work y'all did in the transfer window?
It was a busy transfer window. I think we had 12 transactions. So, I think it was, looking back to the first window, we added the DPs and then we evaluated things and realized, where we need to address. We felt like we needed to address the defense immediately, and I think we did that. Some of those guys are coming from a preseason in Europe, so it'll take them a little bit to get going with the team. But I felt like we were aggressive. It's not done yet. We need to address it again in January, but I felt like we're taking the steps, and now we need to see that in results.
Is the plan going forward to continue with these 3 designated players that you have? And if so, how do you see them working well in tandem together, considering what has happened so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the DPs we have, we're going with that group. Whether that changes in the future, we have a different model where we can go with 2 DPs and use more allocation money into the rest of the roster. That is something we can talk about going into next year. But yeah, the 3 DPs, I think, you look at Aleksei's form lately, it's been fantastic. He's scoring goals for us. He's a real threat around the 18-yard box. The teams now have to pressure him, otherwise he can finish a chance. Can we take advantage of that in assists for him now and open some other players up? Those are the things they're working on in the field, and how we can figure out how to get him assists for us.
With Miguel specifically, why has he struggled so much this year when he's shown success in previously in his MLS tenure, but it just hasn't seemed to click for him at all this year?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that happens. I think Miggy is just given so much, and every game you can see it. He wants to win. He's captain of the team. He's giving everything he has, and I know he's probably played 12 months straight without a break. So I do think that's a challenge for bringing players over from Europe. And many times you see, the next year they get a fresh offseason and they come in looking different. But I think, Miggy's trying to press, he's trying to find his spaces and what's working. We'd love to see him get more production. That will help us get results. But his effort and what he brings to the group, he brings 100% every day.
Trying to use the U22 spots, you didn't use any recently, so you were rather doing more like experienced players other than younger players.
Yeah, I think the U22 spot is something we're looking to fill. I mean, it's a position, I think that on the cap, it's very friendly for the club. These are positions you have to really take your time on and make sure you're getting the right U22. And those can vary between low acquisition costs and really high acquisition costs. My last club, we had a lot of success with our U22s. We ended up selling one for 20 million to Europe. So I think those are good positions to look for. We have lists of players in different positions that we are focusing on, and now it's a matter of finding which one is going to fit the best into the club.
What measurements do you take when hiring a new addition? Or how do you measure if it pays off at the end?
Yeah, sometimes it's looking out maybe 6 months to a year when you're looking back to see was that a success or not. I don't think maybe one transfer window is enough to look and see if it's success. Obviously, if we're winning games, that's the first indication. But you have to look also. There's certain positions where you can't really see if it's goals or assists. There's other contributions that go into it. So I think we use our data analytics, Arjun and the group, and how he works with Ronny and the coaching staff to see every single week how players are doing. Are they performing? How's their fitness level? How are they performing there? And then are they doing enough to create chances for us to be in a situation?
Why is Latte not struggling? Kind of similar question as Miguel. Are they interconnected?
Yeah, I would say part of it when I spoke about Miguel, Latte Lath also coming directly from a European season into our season without a break, and there's moments where I feel like he's maybe fatigued, and I don't know if that is just a combination of mental and physical, but that's a really long time to play straight through. For me, it's about we have 8 games left. Can you focus on the last 8 games and getting the best out of yourself, getting the best out of your teammates? Then some of these players are going to get an off season. It could be the longest off season they probably had in their life with the way MLS is set up. So I think that's the mentality we need to look at and work with.
Are you and Garth satisfied with the job that Ronny is doing?
I think we have confidence in Ronny. As I said, we've had a lot of changes come through. But at the same time, this is a results business for all of us. We need to find a way to get wins. That's starting Sunday against Toronto. So we need to find a way to get the most of our players, and we will do everything we can to support Ronny and his staff with what he needs. We have great ownership. Arthur Mike has given us all the tools and supported us with everything we need at the club. So we need to find a way to get things right. And as a sporting director, I want to be there for Ronny and anything I can do to help our team.
Well, along those lines, Chris, this final 8 matches that you mentioned, what are some of the things you're going to be looking for and watching for as the team finish out? You mentioned you want to get wins, but are there other things that you're kind of looking to see, how the team responds to these final matches?
Yeah, I'd really like to see the new players who have come in this summer window and get them integrated, get them building their fitness up, getting them integrated with their teammates. Look at the complements of players. I want to see our young players who are going to get opportunities to see how they can step up. Players who have come up from the second team. Someone like Luke Brennan, who has an Under-20 World Cup, a chance to make the Under-20 World Cup at the end of September. How he is continuing to progress. So all of those things and figuring out the right combinations of players as we look at the last 8 games and how we can finish the season, but then how we are going to evolve the team going forward for 2026.
Chris, with the 2 center backs that y'all signed this window, can you talk a little bit about kind of y'all's vision for the dynamic, I guess the connection between the 2 of them and how y'all want to see them play out on the field?
Yeah, and I would add Stian into that group as well. So having three strong center backs for 2 spots. I think that Mihai and Barakal, both experienced players. One came here on a transfer, the other one on a loan. So obviously the loan player, that's a decision that happens mid-season in 26, and how he fits with the group, how he plays. And again, they're getting integrated from a preseason in Europe and getting into fitness, and Stian's coming back from a really long injury. So we want to see stability. We want to see consistency in the back, which we didn't see early in the year. And I think it cost us some games. So I really like to see how those guys can stabilize us in the back, how their relationships are with the outside back, having Steven Alzate integrated into the group, how he's going to work with our two center backs and the understanding they have with each other.
I wanted to ask you about Alzate specifically. What did he bring that you saw was a need, and how have you thought he's fit in so far?
Yeah, I think Steven is he's a really composed player. He finds passes. He makes the game look easy when he has the ball. I think he has the ability to split lines. I think from a little deeper back, he's going to be able to find Aleksei and Miggy and hopefully Latte Lath for chances, or whoever's playing in those positions in the next games. Steven is coming off an off-season in Europe, but he needs to continue to improve his fitness. We want to keep him healthy, and we want to see what we have so we know which complements will help in the coming season. And Steven's a really smart player. He wants to make an impact here.
You mentioned Luke Brennan with the U20 World Cup. Is that something that the club would allow him to go do? Because that's not a mandatory call-up situation.
Yeah, we support a player going to the Youth World Cup. I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great showcase for him to improve and show what he can do, and put him really in the spotlight.
The last one from me, there's reports about James Donaldson potentially signing a 2 deal and moving forward. Is there any update on that?
I'm really excited about the goalkeepers that we have coming through. Credit to Javier Perez and the academy staff in producing these players coming through. I'm excited about where the academy is at, and these players feeding through the pathway into our second team and eventually into the first team. But yeah, I think Jono and James are two up-and-coming goalkeepers that are really good for the future.
Looking at the roster with just outside of the DPs, the players who are counting against the budget, there's only like 4 or 5 that are under contract for next year. How much turnover can fans expect from the current team to whatever the roster is going to look like next year? And how feasible is it to turn over that many players and have a successful squad?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the last 5 years. I've been part of a 17-player turnover, and then with a new coach, an 18-player turnover. So. It can be done. When I was a player, I went from worst to first and won 2 trophies the next year. So especially in MLS compared to any league in the world, things can change really quickly. And I've seen it as a player, I've seen it in the front office. So I do think that we need to evaluate everything these last 8 games and see where we're at and which players we will go with going forward. And some of that just comes down to relationships between players and how they are combining together, and the recruitment process and how we feel that the new players will come in and integrate into those complements on the field.
I wanted to ask you, as a sporting director, what are you looking for in players with what you've seen from this team and what it needs to be successful next year? Are there kind of certain characteristics or certain, not even like player profiles, because they're all going to play differently based on their position, but just in terms of what you're looking for when you're going out there to the market?
Yeah, it's a good question. When we scout players, we have 7 or 8 steps we take as we go through. That one is the blip valuation, one is the scouting reports, data analytics, obviously how we look at how they're going to integrate with our team, and then the interview of the player. So it's interviewing the player, the agent, coaches who have had them before. So we need to have an understanding of the players we're bringing in, and then also have an understanding of our current team. Does that player fit the positional profile we have? So I think those are really important, and being able to get the right amount of time to spend watching these players. And that's something I'll address here in the off-season of adding to our recruitment team. Jamie Henderson left for a great opportunity. We will fill his role in-house. So I do think there'll be a different look in how we do things and how we go about it, but that is a process, and how we need to build that, and then how we need to bring the right players in. So there will be moves coming. We have to address the positions of need, and we have to look at the players who are outgoing, how we're filling those roster spots and taking advantage of the budget space.
You mentioned a goal.
More Doug than Marcel.
Okay.
Rob Valentino wasn't retained as the manager, in part because Garth said he didn't win the MLS Cup with the roster. Is it the same standard for Ronny this year? If not, why?
I mean, we had a lot of new people coming in this year. I'm new, coaching staff's new. I think there's been a lot of change. A lot of new players now are coming in. So I do think, just from my experience, sometimes that takes a little time for things to click. So I think, with supportive ownership, I think we're being patient on how to figure out, the best way going forward. But as I said before, it comes down to winning games, and that's where we're at right now. Is can we collect points? Can we show that we're going in the right direction?
You mentioned, this is Marcelo, you mentioned 2026 and moving forward, and you mentioned the goalkeeper position, the young players. Would you like to see some other goalkeepers maybe see some time on the field in the regular season to get acclimated and prepare for 2026?
Yeah, I mean, goalkeeper's a major position in the club, and we've been had an open dialogue with Brad. Brad knows we're looking for a number one goalkeeper next year, so we've been active in that. And then having the young goalkeepers coming through. I mean, you have Cohen, you have Jaden. Jaden's played 2 really solid games for us. So in the last 8 games, should we see Jaden? Possibly yes again. And I think that's a position that you need to be solid in the back and build off that foundation.
Just to clarify that, you said Brad knows y'all are looking for a number one goalkeeper for next year. Does that mean he has a contract for next year? Because I thought his contract ended.
His contract ends at the end of the season. We're going to have open conversations with him, whether he comes back or not.
Okay.
He's one of the most iconic players who's ever played in this club. We will celebrate Brad when that time is right. But he does know we're looking for a number one.
There we go. That was Chris Henderson from Atlanta United. And once again, Chris is, I say sporting director, but technically it is chief soccer officer. And he is a sporting director. I don't know why I'm trying to be proper here, so I don't know why I'm getting in my head about this. Well, sporting director, not technical director. That's what we're trying to say. But we appreciate Chris speaking with us in the media, providing some clarity just on some things. Yeah, interesting about Ronny's job status. And the reality is it's professional sports, and the season has been disappointing. And you kind of, with each losing contest or disappointing draw, you're kind of like, is this going to be the day that Ronny may lose his job? He's kept it so far. We'll see what happens through the rest of the season. I think that he may last the rest of the year, but beyond that, there's going to be some serious questions from what's going on with his status. I asked about Brad Guzan, obviously the starting goalkeeper for Atlanta United, and the captaincy was taken away earlier this season. Miguel Almiron is now the captain, and just seeing what's going on with that position. He's mentioned, we've seen guys like Luke Brennan and others get some playing time, and he elaborated on Luke's progression with the team and on the national scene for the United States. And that includes goalkeeper as well. We've seen Jaden, and he said, play some matches, and we'll see what happens there. But just overall, just a unique position for Atlanta where a lot of moving parts during the season. Derek Williams recently was transitioned to another team, starting goalkeeper from the beginning of the year, but now he's with another squad. It's just a lot going on there. So we'll see what Atlanta does as it wraps up the 2025 season. Thanks for listening and watching this latest edition of the Original Free Kick. As always, head to the mothership to sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter/X, Instagram, and Facebook. And finally, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our audio and video hosts, which include YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and more. Until next time, good fight, good night, and be safe.